Right, I just want to talk about something else now, which is, again, another quite serious thing. And actually, usually Tech Up Dave, who's here with us today, we have a bit of a laugh, Dave. We talk about sort of silly things. And we're going to do that in a minute or two, so fear not. But there was quite a serious story you brought to mind, a personal example that you brought to, we were chatting this week, as we often do, and we're talking about scams and the elderly, because there's an elderly person in your life who has been a victim of some of these scams that are going around and seem to be everywhere now, Dave.
Yeah, and these are even people phoning up and pretending to be the fraud department from your bank, saying...
As if they're helping you.
A fraudulent transaction's been taken on your account. Can you tell us what the card number is? Just to confirm that. And they're very clever in the way they manipulate the conversation to get the details out so they can clone your cards and go along and spend all the money that's in your bank account.
So this person in your life, we'll not say just exactly who it is to protect that person, but this person has been a victim of some of these scams. They have lost money as a result of it.
Yes. I mean, admittedly, the bank will refund some of the things when you get scammed. But it's getting to the stage now where I think because he's been scammed once, they keep calling. He must be on a list somewhere that scammers.com, I don't know.
Yeah. They keep a list of vulnerable people, and they're just going to keep doing it if they know they can get money out of this man.
And so they ring up, and the really clever ones, what you should do is when they ring up and say, a fraudulent transaction's been taken on your account, what they then say is, if you want to call us back, you put the phone down, but they keep the line open. When you pick the phone up, dial the number, it sounds like it's ringing.
Goodness me.
And then
so they play a sound effect of it. Let's have a look. I mean, if you're watching on Talk TV, you actually have a couple of these scams that you've shown us the emails from.
I mean, these are email ones. I mean, there's the original phishing one that you see to start with.
The classic one, the sort of, you won loads of money.
This one I got the other day, they want to send me $10,700,000 US. I mean, that's... Yeah.
Probably not.
Probably
a scam.
Fairly obvious that there's an issue.
But there are other ones, and you've one here which looks to me anyway as if it just looks exactly like something that PayPal would send you. And in fact, you can see the address at the top there, service@paypal.com.
Yeah.
But this looks completely genuine, the one we're looking at now, doesn't it?
I mean, the only difference with this, just at the top, it says, "Hello, Annie Walker." I don't know who Annie Walker is.
Which is in Coronation Street.
Oh yeah, she was. But this says, you've got an invoice for £534. Click on the thing to check the invoice. Well, as soon as you do that, you're going to they'll log into your account and take your details.
Of course, yeah.
So in that case, the best thing to do is go to PayPal on another browser window, type it in, go to paypal.com.
But if you're, let's face it, you Tech Up Dave, obviously, as the name would suggest, you know a lot about technology. But there are a lot of people, including this man in your life, who just doesn't have the same kind of abilities as you do. And it's so difficult, isn't it, to actually say to someone, especially if they're a little bit further on in years, and perhaps, I know there are a lot of silver surfers who know technology back to front, but there are some people who just don't really know what to do, and also this kind of panic as well, like this other one that you've shown me here. It says your payment method isn't valid. Update it now or risk losing your products. I mean, the kind of panic is something that comes in a lot, isn't it?
I mean, this is what also happens with the phone calls. The person in question also had a phone call from a fraud department, and they persuaded him that he needed to mail all of his bank cards back to this address. It was only because I said, well, hang on a minute, let's have a look, and looked at the address, and then went on Google Maps and found it, and it was just a council flat in Milton Keynes, I think it was.
Yeah, it's not a fraud department.
They kept ringing back saying, have you put them in the post yet? You need to get them in the post. And they were just on and on. So there's the urgency, and they just push the people so they don't have that chance to actually sit down and go, hang on a minute, this doesn't seem quite right.
This man who's in your life, what sort of effect is it having on him?
Well, it's very upsetting, and it's very upsetting for everybody in their family as well, because nobody likes to be
taken advantage of and defrauded,
And I mean, it can happen to any of us. I mean, I remember I had my credit card cloned once.
I had it too. I was someone tried to buy a phone on Amazon. They got into my Amazon account. Yeah,
and you just feel violated. It's a bit like having somebody burgle your house, but it's something you can't see. It's this. It just makes everybody feel very uncomfortable and very, very upset and stressed, and you don't want to talk to anybody, and it's.
And I'm sure you worry about that man when he's on his own and the phone rings or he's checking his email and you're not there to actually say, hold on a second.
I mean, it was only because I happened to go round there and suddenly have this conversation, and it was like, whoa, this sounds a bit weird.
Yeah.
So,
we're going to talk to Mike Haley now, who's the Chief Executive of CIFAS, which is the UK's leading fraud prevention service. Mike, you're very welcome to Talk TV today. Thanks so much for joining us. What do you think of what you've heard? I mean, it just seems to be all too common, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's the crime now, the number one crime that we're most likely to actually experience in our life. So other acquisitive crimes, burglary, robbery, have gone down over the years. But that's because a lot of the things that we own are now digital. So they're in bank accounts. They're they're on our mobile phones.
Yeah, just as we have moved online to do so many different things, so have the criminals.
Absolutely. So the kind of cybercrime, 83% of the fraud reports by the businesses that fund our service, and we're a not-for-profit, have the fraud is internet enabled, but it's phishing, and smishing. So that's around the emails, fake emails that we get, the phishing emails, SMS texts, and you saw some of those examples there, which are now we're flooded with text, spam texts, which are a lot of scams, and also voicemail, phishing. So they're the three techniques. They can reach millions of people to identify those who are most vulnerable to frauds. So we see them, and sometimes we can see through a scam, like the first one that Dave put forward. But some of the others are really quite sophisticated. They spoof the emails, they spoof the headings.
Some of those emails we've looked at that Dave has brought in and showed on the screen, I mean, they look so genuine, don't they? It would be perfectly normal. It would be a perfectly human reaction to click one of those links and to start putting your bank details in, wouldn't it?
It is, and that's why now it is very difficult to detect, and we need to be stopping these at source, working with the telecoms organisations, ISPs.
Will we stop it, though, or will it just be something we've got to live with as a society?
I think we can do more to stop this at source. I think we need kind of a neighbourhood watch for the internet. So I'd say that for every time we see one of these, we can report them. We can report them, the scam text to 7726, the phishing ones to report at phishing. We can check a website. It's a new service set up by GetSafe Online and CIFAS, which allows you to drop in a link to see whether it is a genuine one. So we get some tools. But you're right, it's the new type of crime. It's a new front line in crime, and we have to fight it through technical means. Police have to do more. For 40% of all crime, only 2.5% of police resources are put into it. Yeah. It's a low-risk, high-reward, crime for fraudsters. We need to go after them more, and we have to spread these messages and cocoon and support the most vulnerable. Dave, you mentioned earlier, have they got a sort of list? Unfortunately, they have something they call a suckers list. Mm-hmm. That's what they think of us. Mm-hmm. They think if we are susceptible, and we're susceptible once, we'll be susceptible the second time, and we need to do more to support victims. There are a number of initiatives, but they need to be global, across the UK.
Is changing your phone number a good idea? Changing your landline number maybe, or your mobile number, does that help in any way?
So I think that's difficult, isn't it? Particularly if you say vulnerable or elderly or lonely, and that's the number you contact people in. But there are things called call blockers. Trading standards have rolled out call blockers, which means you put in the phone numbers that you want to receive calls from, and it blocks everything else out. Mm-hmm. I think that should be rolled out nationally. I'd like to see BT and others do that for landlines, particularly people over, say, 65
There's
or 70.
There's a really good service as well where the person, it's almost like an answer phone, the person has to say where they're from, essentially, although I suppose that doesn't help if they're saying they're from somewhere then it isn't true.
Yes, there are techniques to help, but I think the most important one is to have a healthy dose of skepticism. They use techniques, and we saw some of those there, the techniques of pressure, urgency. You might lose something, your account's going to be suspended, or you've got money's going to be in the account. So they use that kind of a visceral instinct in your gut. So partly we speak to victims who thought there was something up, and we say trust your gut instinct.
Yeah, absolutely.
You thought there's something. Well, stop for a minute. check it out. Dave has some great advice there. Check it independently on the web.
Yeah.
Go to their website. I had a brilliant one from a delivery company yesterday that I even nearly fell for. So I looked at it and I thought, I had a phone call. Was I expecting delivery? I couldn't really recall. They're always having deliveries, aren't we, these days? Working mainly from home. When I clicked on the link, what's that? I'm listening to my own advice.
Yeah.
No, you think like, it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
And then when they start asking your credit card details, and I'm thinking, no, they shouldn't do this. They shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Okay, Mike, thank you very much indeed. That's Mike Haley, the CEO of CIFAS, which is the UK's leading fraud prevention service. Dave, what do you make of what Mike was saying there? Do you think it's helpful to you? I mean, you're someone who's really, obviously, given your title as Tech Up Dave, you're so tech savvy, and there are things that can be done, but there are lots of people who just will fall victim to these.
I think the thing with it is you just have to be sceptical of everybody.
Yeah.
I know it sounds really hard.
I'm not sceptical of you. I'm generally pro you.
Well, you and I know each other.
I know.
But somebody ringing up, check it.
Yeah.
If it's a call out the blue, then there's something a bit odd. Yeah. Then check it.
You're absolutely right. I should say Action Fraud is the UK's National Fraud and Internet Crime Reporting Centre, and the number for that is 0300 123 2040. So that's 0300 123 2040. And there's a text number as well, which is 7726. And if you want any of these numbers that we've given out, you can get them all on our website, talk.tv. So have a look there. Dave, I mean, this is a very serious issue, of course.
Yeah.
But I think we should maybe lighten the mood a little bit. I think it might be time for a biscuit. What do you think?
I think you're right.
Damien, play it.
Cardi B's Biscuit Breakdown.
I really fancy a biscuit, Dave. I don't know about you.
You've already stolen them off.
Don't give it away. Don't tell people. Yeah. So what are these? These are we've gone international.
Yes.
Today. These are Le Petit Chocolat, crunchy biscuits topped with milk chocolate. I think I could get a roll in a low with
Possibly,
my French accent.
Yes.
You said in your French accent.
No, I'm not.
Go on, Dave.
Go on, Dave. I don't have a French accent.
Yes, you do. Say Le Petit Chocolat.
Le Petit Chocolat.
That was dreadful.
It was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I will say this only once.
I will say this only once. Well, I'm going to eat these more than once because they're absolutely delicious. Yes. Well, thank you for bringing those in. Really appreciate that. And we've actually had a lovely text, quite a nice one from Lynx Poacher, who says, Peter, I had a scam caller. I told him he had phoned the regional fraud office and his number had been logged. He slammed the phone down and then 4 hours later he rang again, called me the C word and slammed the phone down. I've never been called since. Happy days. Sometimes they do get their comeuppance.
Oh, yes. I mean, if I have the time and I'm in the mind to, it's great to string them along.
Yes, well, I mean, you would be very good at that with your wonderful sense of humour. Dave, we're going to talk, and after the break, actually, we're going to talk about adopting cats. And now it is time for...
It's Cardi B's Cat of the Week.
And through the cat flap.
And through the cat flap we have gone. Dave, who is the cat of the week this week?
The cat of the week this week is Rosie, who you will see coming up on your screen in moments.
Indeed, if you're watching on Talk TV, that is. If you are, look at Rosie, very, very cute. If you're listening on Talk Radio, go to my Twitter at Peter Cardwell. After the show, the first thing I do is to tweet out a little video that Dave has put together of Rosie. What can you tell us about Rosie?
I can tell you very little about Rosie, unfortunately, because I don't have that much information. I can tell you that the cat has an owner. Cat dad is Ian Gillies Bell, and he tweeted pictures of Rosie from his Twitter account, and that's about it.
Excellent. Okay, well,
but Rosie does look very, very cute and fluffy.
Very fluffy.
I think look very young, actually.
Yeah, Rosie does look very young. I hope she's a rescue cat, because rescue cats are, of course, the best. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute, about rescue cats and the fact, actually, that there are problems here, because lots of people are buying cats online. You should never do that online, and we're going to talk about that properly with Cats Protection, the big kitten con as well. But Dave, you're a legend. I wish you well, and I wish the person in your life with that problem well as well, and I know that you are a great support as well, so thank you to that. We're going to talk to Peter Shergold, who is the head of field operations at Cats Protection. I wonder what the field operation, I mean, cats in fields? I don't know.
It's just a field full of cats.
Field full of cats, yeah. Absolutely. I was awoken the other night, Dave, I was just about, the adrenaline was pumping.
What have you done?
Because, well, the adrenaline was pumping because it's the first time I was presenting Breakfast. Breakfast is
Yes.
the biggest show in the station. And Jeremy was off, and I got the call from the higher-ups saying, you know, can you present Breakfast on Friday? And I was really excited about it. And I'd watched I'm a Celebrity because we were talking about it in the programme. And it was about 12:15, and I still wasn't asleep. It was just loads of things running around my head. I was fine. I just couldn't get sleep. And I was just nodding off.
Oh, no.
When my housemate screamed, like a proper scream, like a proper absolute bellow. And there was a mouse in her room.
No.
Yeah, which I had to deal with.
Jack has failed you.
Well, Jack helped because the mouse was alive and is tragically no longer with us. Thanks to Jack. So the mouse is an ex-mouse. The mouse has been taken out and disposed of. There wasn't really a funeral; it was just thrown in a bin. But yes, there we are. The poor mouse. So yeah,
The mouse has left the building.
the mouse has left the building. Dave, thank you very much. Dave's great. I'm going to have a biscuit and a cup of tea with Dave in the break, and then we're going to talk about the big kitten con because there's lots to talk about in regard to that. We're also going to talk to Tricia. We're going to take some calls as well. And if you want to get your last minute call in, 0344 499 1000.